Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as the case may be, wherever you are in the world. We are very pleased to have everybody here for this webinar, Balancing Risk, Defining Value in Product Development Innovation for Customer and Care. We are thrilled to have two excellent speakers on board today, Shannon Lewandowski from American Modern Insurance Group and Kevin Wondra from Society Insurance. I'm going to share a little more background on our two speakers today in just a minute, but first, let's all get oriented to our purpose here today. So we understand the webinar title, and the format of the webinar is pretty straightforward. I'm going to do a brief introduction with some background about the subject matter and the related conference. Each of our presenters will share some comments and thoughts and experience that they have for 10 or 15 minutes each. Registered attendees are welcome to submit questions at any time that they come to mind, and we'll be answering those during the Q&A period following the two presentations. We usually allow a good solid 20-25 minutes for Q&A because that's, an equally valuable part of the program. We find usually we cannot get to all the questions before the clock runs out. So as you probably know, the webinar is being presented by Insurance Nexus in the run-up to the Connected Insurance USA Summit later this year, November 28th to 30th in Chicago. And I'm sure you've seen some information about it already, but you'll be receiving more shortly as the agenda and the brochure start to come to market. We are well ahead of the normal schedule here because it's going to be such a large and broad conference. A little bit of information. So the conference and today's webinar is sort of focused on the industry shifts, looking at innovation through real-time, impact-driven strategic lens. And we're also here, of course, to unveil Connected Insurance USA Summit, whose theme is redefining risk and reward. We'll talk more about that. It will be driven by case studies, and Connected Insurance USA will explore how carriers can utilize connected technologies to design and implement the products and services that meet customer expectations and drive value. The agenda has just been launched. It's on the website. So visit Connected Insurance USA website, which has just been sent out via the chat function. And you can see exactly what will be covered at the event as we dive into 3 tracks over 2 conference days, plus 1 deep dive workshop day. The pre-launch discount offers a $500 discount. So register early to get the lowest price available. And one more piece of housekeeping, a recording link for today's webinar will be sent to all registered individuals in the event that you can't stay online for the whole thing. So with that, I'd like to share some background. It's going to be relevant to their comments in terms of their backgrounds and experience. So let me start by reintroducing Shannon Lewandowski. She is the head of innovation and the digital team and head of IoT at American Modern Insurance Group based in Amelia, Ohio, Cincinnati. And for those of you who may not be familiar with American Modern, it's a sister company of the Hartford Steam Boiler and part of the Munich Re Insurance Group, and they write specialty personal and commercial insurance. A little bit about Shannon. She's been with American Modern for 14 years. She's got extensive experience across all areas of the business. She started out as a field adjuster in Michigan and has held several positions in the claims department, from liability adjuster, examiner, and trainer. Last May, in 2017, she transitioned to the newly formed innovation and digital team and heads up IoT within American Modern. Their task is to disrupt themselves before they are disrupted by others, focusing on cultural integration of innovation, new products and services, digital and customer experience. They are looking at ways to reimagine insurance and working in the lean startup mindset. Pardon me. If an idea makes insurance simple, easy to use, and add value, they're looking at it. So that's some background on Shannon. And let me do the same for Kevin. Kevin Wondra is a Director of Innovation at Society Insurance, headquartered in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Society has operated a mutual company since 1915 and has experienced significant growth in the last 10 years, increasing policyholder surplus from 50 million in 2002 to 93 million in 2011. The company has over 250 employees and a network of more than 350 independent agencies, and currently serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Wisconsin. With that general introduction, I'd like now to invite Shannon Lewandowski to share her thoughts and comments on today's theme and on the conference theme. And Shannon, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. As Stephen said, I'm Shannon Lewandowski. I've been with American Modern Insurance, and I'm part of their new innovation and digital team as a head of IoT on that team. Just a little background on our team. We were formed last May, so it's been about a year. And we were formed with members of the organization from various departments, such as claims as myself, software engineering, data, product, IT, and HR. That person has a design thinking background, which really lends to the way our team moves through projects. So we were taken out of the core operation so we could be free to pursue innovation. We're a small team, so we really rely on the company to also help push innovation throughout. So as Stephen mentioned, part of our pillars are cultural integration. So we really looked for employees to come to us with ideas. We actually have a program where we empower people to move that forward. There's different stages for it. It's called Project Black Box, where they present the problem to a team of panelists. And if their ideas are voted through to the next level, then they work to prove out a business case and then pitch their idea to the executive board to see if it can become part of the operations. So we really want everybody in the company to be part of this journey with us. We have several different initiatives that have been going on. So this webinar really highlights a lot of them that we're doing and ways that we're looking at to launch new products and services, and even experiences for the customer to make insurance easy, simple to use, adds value to them, creates that sticky point so we're on their mind more than when just a claim happens. So one of the big initiatives that I'm working on right now is a water sensor pilot, which kind of hits all of the topics that are highlighted in the invite. So we're looking at, do our insureds want these devices, and do they actually prevent damage or mitigate damage, reduce that? And we've launched the pilot in 3 states. We've really worked to communicate with our customers to drive participation to the pilot. We'd like 1,000 people to sign up. We've learned some very valuable lessons. We launched it internally in December of 2017 with employees, and then reached out to the insureds in January. And the pilot will run through March 2019. So a lot of lessons have been learned, and that'll be I'll be speaking at the conference in November for Insurance Nexus, and we'll be talking about our journey with this pilot. So it's really exciting as far as communicating with the customer, what the customer wants, what drives them to want to be a part of something like this. We can discuss that here today too, if those are some of your questions. And also, Stephen mentioned we work in the lean startup, so we kind of do things differently than what we normally do at American Modern. We like to start out small. We like to do pilots. We don't operationalize something immediately, and we really like to look to see what the problem is without automatically finding a solution. So we've done a lot of customer exploration, listened to the customer, and we've learned lots of good things. We have lots of insights about that. So I'm happy to share those learnings with you today. So thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. The questions are already coming in fast and furious, so we'll get back with you on some of the questions. But I wanted to move on with Kevin's comments first, and then we'll get to Q&A. So, Kevin, take it away.
Great. Good morning and good afternoon to everybody out there. I'll give you a little more context about Society Insurance, and then I'm going to take you on a journey through the past, present, and then a view into the future. Our organization, as Stephen said, we operate in really limited markets here. You mentioned 4, we're actually in 5, about to launch 6, and we only operate in commercial lines, and we specialize in the restaurant and bar space. Now going to the past and our journey for innovation. It was really back in 2015 that, as many of you probably are aware, that the term customer experience became really a buzzword, not only in our industry, but any industry that serves customers, and a move away from just customer service. And at that time, our organization decided to create a committee that really focused on the customer experience. I was a part of that committee and would later chair that committee over time. But the path to innovation really just kind of started there. And when we talk about customer experience, we believe that everything really starts with the customer and their voice. And that's where that all got started for us. In 2016, a year later, we took a look at our expense ratio that was beginning to creep up, and we realized that we have a lot of manual processes around our company, a lot of additional touches and paper and handoffs that maybe we can get better in terms of improving internally, recognizing that if we improve how we do things internally, that will also help in that customer experience. We brought in a consultant in the middle of 2016 for 18 months to actually train our employees on lean tactics, Lean Six Sigma, if you will, yellow belt, green belt, and even some black belt individuals. So passing on that knowledge to us in 2016 through the end of 2017. And as this was going on, you recognize that the Customer Experience Committee was operating in its own little area. This continuous improvement and lean initiative was starting to infiltrate the company. Back at the beginning of 2017, our IT department was looking for a better way in which to deliver value, deliver improvements to our applications and our systems. And we decided to make a very bold move away from the waterfall framework to the agile framework. We set up teams, and for those of you out there familiar with agile, you know that it's about iterating quickly, delivering new software, new code every few weeks. You don't have a large project plan with the detailed requirements and then have a big bang with a new system or maybe even a new product 6 months, 12 months later. It's a faster way to innovate and to get things to market. So, and as we entered 2017 and we had these 3 distinct areas of the company, we recognized that when a committee, as particular with customer experience, is operating, those are people with full-time positions giving a little bit of their time, but we realized that we really need somebody at the forefront and at the head of our customer experience program, as well as our continuous improvement now program within the organization, because our consultants were going to be leaving at the end of 2017. So that moment in August of 2017, we actually hired a customer experience and a continuous improvement program manager. And at the same time, in this moment, we've had the IT department working in an agile way, but there was a gap there, and that's product management. It's the layer of individuals who stand between kind of the rest of the enterprise and our IT department that helps break down the work and creates acceptance criteria for our developers to create and innovate the work we do. When you wrap all 3 together, that became our innovation division at Society Insurance. I like to look at it like a clock. If you're looking at it visually, at the very top of a clock, you have the CX at high noon. Everything really starts with the customer. If you start moving to 1 o'clock, I like to say that that's kind of where voice of customer comes in. We need to listen to our customers and understand what are their needs, what are their desires for us to improve. You move to 3 o'clock, and that's where continuous improvement lies. And we try to understand, hey, is it simply a process that we need to improve internally that will help the experience of the customer? Or is it something that will just simply create more efficiency for us and it'll help our profitability? If we move down the clock down to the 6, that's kind of where product management sits. As different projects and as we work in this agile framework and actually now SAFe, scale agile, product management's there to really take the baton on what the innovation is going to be that involves technology in our IT area and runs that through. And as you run that up the clock back to the 11, I have the word there of measurement. And this is back connected to customer experience. How are we measuring, the impact of that innovation? And we as a company have moved and grown and evolved to now incorporate Net Promoter Score as a means to being able to judge how are we doing for the agents who sell our products, the policyholders that we serve, and we also have it for our employees, which is a little other area as well. That kind of gets us to the present today. Today at our company, we believe that anyone can innovate. Anyone in the organization can be an innovator. We recognize that people on the front lines, our team members, are the ones who are talking and touching our customers every day. They really likely know what their pain points are, and we want to encourage them, like Shannon in American Modern Insurance, to present an idea and present a business case, but a lean business case, something they can put together that demonstrates either value for the customer or even value for us as a business, or both. And that's always the best case scenario. When looking at value, and this is really important, I think it really ties into our topic today and at the conference, you look at it in two ways, quantitative and qualitative. We look at quantitative by way of how much potential revenue this might create for us. Maybe if we're improving processes, how many hours annually might this save? What type of dollar amount could this save our organization on this innovation or idea? But it's also on qualitative, and that's where voice of customer comes in. Are we hearing things from our policyholders? Are we hearing things from our agents that are causing the pain points for them? And do we need to take that opportunity to innovate? Our company, in terms of balancing act, we have 2 strategic initiatives, and it's just very high level. One is to grow and invest our company, and the second is to manage risk, which is really what probably all our organizations strive for and want to. So it's a nice, clear, and simple plan for our company. And finally, looking ahead to the future, like Shannon, we're also looking at sensors, and we've watched personal lines carriers, and again, we're just a commercial line company. We watch personal line carriers here in the United States, like State Farm, partnering with Canary, and State Auto partnering with Roost on home sensor and home monitoring systems. That gives you the ability to watch your home through the palm of your hand through an application. In the commercial line space, that's going to be prevalent as well, and that I believe is the future. I do believe that for business owners, the ability to manage the risk, but also maybe even an unintended benefit of sensor technology could be managing their business as well. We look at sensor technology as a potential transformative paradigm shift in that insurance is not just something you buy and you stick in a drawer and you wait for something bad to happen and then, quote unquote, use it. But maybe insurance can transform into risk management where I can monitor my business in the palm of my hand, going to an app with my insurance company's logo on it, and I can watch what's going on in my business every single day. It moves insurance companies to top of mind rather than something, well, I hope I never have to use. And that's what we're excited in terms of seeing the future of insurance and potentially risk management with some of the IoT technology out there. Thank you.
Kevin, thanks very much for the expansive comments. Lots to talk about here. Shannon, if I may, I'd like to step back into your reference to your water pilot and just ask you to share a little more with the audience about no names basis, of course, but just a little more about what brought you to water, why water as opposed to any other risk, and sort of what exactly the program entails from a logistics point of view. Are you sending out equipment to your policyholders? Are they installing it? A little bit more color around that. That'll probably drive a better understanding of the program.
Sure. So we looked at our losses. So we're a niche company. So we do a lot of specialty manufactured homes, vacant, seasonal, rental, and then properties that just don't fit in that standard carrier market. We looked at our losses. Fire is our number one loss, but water comes in second as the number two loss, but with the highest dollar amount. So that's how we tried to target that with water. Since our risks are unique, we went out to 3 Department of Insurance in Ohio, Colorado, and Alabama to get permission to do the pilot. We are working with 2 vendors using 2 different types of devices, 500 of each device. I'm just trying to think of all of it. We want to learn, do our insureds want these devices, right? So we assume that they would. They'd want to be in contact with their house. They'd want to know if something were to go wrong. And then at the end of the day, do they prevent a claim or do they reduce the damage that it causes? So we've been doing testing with our sister company, Hartford Steam Boiler, at our Living Wise house. It's a smart home where we've done a water event and tested sensors. And during that test, a sensor would have detected water within 8 minutes. Thinking about that, and when someone could get to their house and turn off the water, that would drastically reduce maybe the amount of damage on the claim. So we started out targeting our insureds via email. We set up a website for sign up. We learned we have to do a better job at getting our email addresses, getting correct ones. And so that kind of limited our target audience. We then looked at doing a targeted Facebook campaign, and we learned that that's not a good idea. We kind of timed it wrong too when all that stuff was going on with Facebook as well. So that was bad on our part, a good lesson learned. And then we sent out an old-fashioned mailer, a postcard, and we had the largest drive to our site to sign up. So I don't know if it's the trustworthiness of mail. No hacker is going to invest in printing and mailing it out to target somebody for something corrupt or cyber. And then now our next phase is to use our staff adjusters in those states when they're out on a claim to talk about the water pilot. So that'll launch in the next couple of weeks. It's been slow to sign up, I will tell you that. I would love to say we've given away all 1,000 devices, but we have quite a ways to go. So those are all part of our learnings. And then the devices that we gave out, some of them have not been installed yet. So we're learning that. At the end of the day, we understand that the insured probably had to have some skin in the game, but to do the pilot and within the regulations of the DOI, we assumed 100% of the cost for the devices. But ideally, you would want the insureds to share in some of that cost so that they would be invested and the device not, sit on their kitchen table for a month and not be installed. But of the devices that have been installed and people that have been using it, the feedback's been really good. We've had a couple people ask how they can get more sensors because the set of sensors we are using, the 500, are a set of 3, so you could place them in different areas around your home. And then the other one actually goes on your water meter and kind of gives you that whole home monitoring. And somebody installed that one on their water meter, and within minutes they realized that a spare bathroom, the toilet, was constantly running. So they were able to fix that right away. Nothing to cause a claim, but certainly something to reduce their water bill. So there's been a lot of positives about that. We've had to pivot a lot on ideas from our learnings, which is all part of that lean method. But it's pretty exciting though.
Oh, that's wonderful color. Thanks. And it just reinforces the lessons we hear over and over again in innovation about failing fast, about pivoting.
Yep.
I mean, these things are not straightforward, and you're learning as you go. I had one question just from a logistics point of view, I guess, or a technology point of view. Are these units, are these sensors, do you have visibility into them, or does only the policy holder get notifications?
So yeah, the policyholder only gets notifications. Now during our pilot, with the two manufacturers, they'll share data with us, but we don't have access
You don't see direct
to the app. No, we get
Okay.
the data back and see like install and when something is hit, because if we do have an event, we really want to reach out to that participant to ask them, did you file a claim? And then I can look in the claim file so we can do a little further investigating to see what the savings were to the insured, or did it prevent a claim and do what we thought it would do. So yeah, it's not that intrusive. We don't see live time and that John Smith has this event and water's been running. We just get a monthly data pool with no identifying information, really.
Thanks very much. And again, just to set up the the Q&A period properly, Kevin, if I can ask you, given that you have a different focus on the lines of business that you write, and your customers have a different profile, do you have any specific innovation programs for lines of business, either under development that you can talk about, or in the marketplace, or any ideas about where you might like to start given your customer base?
Absolutely. It's going to sound a little bit like Shannon's. Again, we play in the more of the restaurant and bar space, a little more on the commercial line with sensors. So we've conducted, well, let me just back up. We've done a phase 1 and then a phase 2. Phase 2 is under a confidentiality agreement with our manufacturer, so I can't speak to the phase 2, but I can with our phase 1. We started with a pilot. It's still pretty early on with a bar and grill just outside of Madison, Wisconsin. It's the place to be on a Saturday in the fall when the Wisconsin Badgers are home. But it's a very large establishment, and we targeted this particular policyholder to use sensors, a multitude of different types of sensors for moisture, for temperature, carbon monoxide, smoke, and even if for doors being ajar. And wanted to, like Shannon's doing from a pilot standpoint, understanding the value that does this bring to our customers. Do they actually want it? Does it prevent losses or not? And what we found early on, and it happened within the first month and a half, there were 2 incidents that occurred. One of which was a compressor on a cooler. It wasn't actually, the cooler wasn't cooling, so the temperature inside the cooler was starting to go up. That sensor then sends an alert to the owner's cell phone in the form of a text, letting him know that there's the temperature in the cooler is now outside of its normal parameter. And by way of just having that notification, the owner was actually able to get a repairman to his place, look at that compressor, get it fixed before he had any food spoilage. So that was a win. Second was an incident that involved some water that was coming up inside their basement near their sump. We had a moisture sensor there, and when this moisture sensor actually water touched it, that was when it's sort of outside of its normal parameter. It again alerted the owner. He sent somebody downstairs. They were able to move some product and get the situation addressed without any loss of product. So within really 6 weeks, we had 2 incidents. Now, from an insurance claim standpoint, might those have been under their deductible? Likely yes, or they may not have made a claim to us, but the fact that they had eyes on their business by way of sensors prevented that money that's right out of their pocket, and that's been great. There's also been, as I said, unintended benefit in managing the business, and this particular owner talked to us about how he was noticing when the back door of the business was going open and close more often than it should during business hours, and realized that his employees were going out and having a smoke break. So having a sensor on the back door helped him recognize that. So what we're finding, at least in our pilot here early on in our phase 1, is that there's risk and exposure benefit and management that's occurring, but there's also some additional business management and some additional benefit really outside of what an insurance company or your loss or risk control department typically brings. And that's what has us excited as we move into our phase 2.
Thanks, Kevin. It's really interesting listening to both you and Shannon describe your program experiences so far. It's clear that what comes out of these programs is sort of unexpected challenges, but also unexpected benefits beyond what you might have, planned or anticipated in the beginning. And that is, of course, what innovation is all about. I'm going to ask each of you a question to probably set up some discussion. I know the audience is interested. I know the industry is interested, and it may be slightly unfair to ask this because you probably don't know the answer yet, but you probably done a lot of thinking about it. So it goes sort of like this: if sensors are able to get us to the point where we're not just managing a risk, managing claims, but we're actually avoiding risk and avoiding claims, then the question arises about sort of the value, the ROI, if I might, to both the insurance company and the policyholder in a world where I don't think we're going to eliminate claims by any means. No one does. But we're probably going to start reducing claims. And so everyone's trying to get a handle on the balance between premium adjustment in a world of better risk management and benefit to policyholder. So I wonder if either of you have any comments, have done any thinking, or have any ideas around that. And Shannon, I'll ask you first.
Sure. That's we think about all of that because as technology progresses, we hope to create those better risks to be able to, inform our insureds or be able to have an offering out there that would reduce claims. Because we know a claim is a traumatic thing for somebody, for something to happen. They're either out of their home or there's contractors in their home. So if there's something that could alleviate that or reduce that mess that happens with a claim, of course, that's what we want to look at. I think insurance starts to change as insurance is a service, and ways we look at discounts start to change as well. And so those are part of what we're learning in our pilot, because there's your standard security discount or for fire, suppression systems. But now we have to look at for things like the water sensors and stuff that comes out now. So that's always on our mind when we're thinking about things and looking at new technology out there, and really keeping the customer in the forefront and what we can do to help them protect their home and keep it safe and their belongings and the people inside of it is what we look at as well. I don't know if that entirely answers your question, but that's kind of how we're tackling it.
Nobody has an entire answer to that question, right. But good thoughts. Thanks for sharing. Kevin, how about yourself? How do you and your colleagues see that question?
You got it. I think from a past and current state view, in avoiding claims, we have a entire department or area or unit of our business called risk control. Some other companies call loss control. I call our team the invisible army out in the field day in, day out, working with our policyholders, helping to avoid claims, looking at things that are exposures that could result in fire, could result in water damage, could result in patrons or employees slipping and falling. We see a lot of that. And that's currently the past and the current state of how we help our customers avoid claims. If we're able to use technology in a way that can give them an opportunity to manage their business almost in real time, it's not to say we don't need those people, but their job to potentially shift in not only being a consultant to the operation, but consultant in helping them understand this technology and getting these things set up. If we help them avoid claims, they become more profitable risks. And the more profitable we are, the ability that we have is to really maintain or potentially lower their premiums. And at the end of the day, that's really what agents who sell our products and the policyholders want. Our company is our own. We're a mutual company. We're owned by our policyholders, and everything we do is really for their benefit. So if we can find ways to help with avoid claims and even potentially give them a better customer experience, the role of a risk control representative potentially in the past, in past state, maybe looked at as an inspector who's going to come in, who's going to find something wrong, and it's going to cost them money. Well, that may not change entirely, but if we can give them another way that they can monitor their business in real time, give them that ability in the palm of their hand. And then in the example that I gave with the pilot, you should be able to create more profitable risks, maintain lower premiums, and that's good for everybody involved.
Thanks, Kevin. It's interesting. The insurance industry has to be one of the few, maybe one of the only industries in the world that I can think of whose mission in improving its products and services through connectivity and innovation actually will have the result of shrinking top line revenue, and the industry is exactly trying to accomplish that. It's a fairly interesting observation. I'm going to turn things over to the audience and the questions because we've got so many, and I've been hogging the microphone here, so to speak. So, first one up: are either of your organizations using machine learning to analyze external data to identify signals, that's connected device signals, and how they will affect your business? So machine learning, advanced analytics, are you applying it yet inside your business? Do you have plans to? Are you looking at it? Where are you on that? And Shannon, if I may start with you.
Sure. Yeah, we are looking at it as an organization and have run a few pilots, not in our innovation team, but over on our business analytics team. They're looking at that, and I think that's probably the way of the future. I mean, for our pilot for IoT right now, no, it's just small and we don't have that. But eventually, to build out something and have a platform and that data coming into, definitely machine learning would come into play with that to sift through all that data that we would be getting.
Thanks. Kevin, what about at society?
For us, we're not quite there yet. We're still in a process of kind of reassessing our foundation of the data that we have. We're going through a conversion of our core transactional systems right now. And along with that, we're kind of rebuilding that infrastructure along the way of an operational data store so we can bring in data that can feed our data warehouse, and then that could be used by our internal and external users. In light of bringing in some additional data from the outside through connected signals, we're just not there yet. We're still kind of building that foundation.
Okay, thanks. So that raises the higher level question that comes up frequently, and I'd love to hear your input on this. Do either of you think that advanced analytics and machine learning, natural language processing, some of the more sophisticated sciences that are being employed by top tier carriers, do you think that those are going to be tools that are only sort of affordable by very large carriers with large budgets for human resources and external consultants and partners? Or do you think companies of your own size will be able to take advantage of those technologies? Kevin, we'll start with you because you were last. So,
sure. I'm going to give the gray answer of it depends. It depends whether you're an organization that's going to look outside the company and look for a vendor solution. In the space of InsurTech and these disruptors that are out there, is there somebody that's developing this kind of natural learning piece that you wish to invest in and become a part of your organization? Or do you have the skill set of your developer teams that you can create that yourselves? So it always comes back to, when you're looking at business strategy, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And will this be a way that customers want to engage with us long term? And if through research and trying to understand if that's a direction that customers want to engage with us, and that would be the direction that you'd go. And then again, the answer is depends whether you have the ability and the resources in-house, or do you need to look outside to a vendor to kind of help you with that area.
Okay, but your answer tells me that you've concluded that you're not precluded from accessing those skills. Shannon, what about?
I agree. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kim. Yeah, Kevin. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Shannon. What about you and your organization and access to those types of tools?
Yeah, so I think we're very similar in Kevin's thinking, right? There's a lot of options out there, and do you want to do it in-house? Does it make sense, or work with a company that's already doing it? On our team, we're exploring that. We just completed our texting pilot, very basic, but still using, how do customers want to be talked to? How do they want to be communicated with, and providing an experience that tries to hit everybody's needs. So I can share with you, we did something a little different. We came out of the gate when we formed our team. We needed to have this great app, and this is how everybody wanted to communicate with us, and it would make it sticky. And we actually just talked to our insureds. We had customer care for a day, funnel calls down to us if insureds would like to talk to us, and we asked why they called in, and most simple things were like, when was my bill due? Did you receive my payment? And we're like, well, would you have checked on an app? And they're like, no, we don't want to go into an app. And it was pretty insightful for us and listening to them. So we did pivot, and then we started our texting pilot, and we're texting out to insureds that opted in to text, and it was pretty successful. It showed us that they were really interested in communicating that way on the easy things like, when's my bill due? When's my next payment? And we had a lot of learnings from that. We also got a couple grocery lists that people accidentally texted to us, and some other conversations, which were entertaining. But so from there, just starting small, we'll start to explore bigger things and how we can add on. So we're very much interested in all those tools.
Thanks. As I listen to both of you respond to that question, the expression "early days" just keeps ringing in my head. It is early days in insurance IoT innovation, and it shows up in this discussion. I just want to remind everybody in the audience, and especially those who may have logged on a little late and missed the beginning, that both Shannon and Kevin will be appearing at the Connected Insurance USA Summit in Chicago in November, along with probably approximately another 45 or so expert speakers from across the industry. I'm going to return to the questions. I've got an interesting one here. Bear with me while I read it. It's just a little lengthy. With regard to costs of sensors and passing down to the insured, passing the cost down to the insured, it seems as if it's more common in the personal insurance space that the customer expects that the sensors are provided to them. In the commercial sector, is Kevin seeing the same expectations, or from the commercial in the personal spaces that the customer expects in the personal space, et cetera? So the question here is, what are there real sort of business model differences in the use of sensors between personal line applications like water sensors, but not necessarily just that, and on the commercial side again? So I guess, Kevin, the question seems to be pointed your way. As you think about rolling out IoT and sensor type solutions to either your bar and grill in Madison or Milwaukee, and other areas, what might the model be, and how might it differ from the one that Shannon's described in her personal insurance water sensor program?
That's a great question. The pilot that we undertook with this policyholder, we fronted the cost of the hardware. So there's two costs. There's hardware up front, the sensors themselves, maybe a little installation cost and labor there. And then it's kind of this monthly subscription, this ongoing cost. And like Shannon, we've not developed the sensor technology ourselves. We're working with, I guess, a startup company as well. So we're in a kind of a partnership at the moment. In the future, we're looking at, and it's a little bit our phase 2 that's confidential, that potentially there may not, I talked about a lot of different types of sensors that measure different things, but maybe there's one that will have the greatest impact to reduce the greatest frequency or severity of risk on their premise. And our thought process, at least today, and again, it's as Stephen said, early days. Do we provide maybe a discount for that particular sensor? Do we provide one particular sensor that's on us, that we provide the hardware, but that subscription that they would pay it would continue, would be with an understanding, though, that there may be a discount in your insurance that would offset that cost moving forward. That's at least in our head right now what we're talking about. Being that we're just in this, past phase one, moving to a phase two and some further development, that's kind of where maybe our head's thinking today. I'd probably know more at the end of November and can maybe speak to where we're at then.
I'll make a note to ask you on November 29th. Thank you.
Thank you.
These comments trigger a question I'd like to ask and then get back to audience questions. Given that the process you both described is sort of iterative in the sense that you both had some ideas about how your program would work, but as you move through the program, you learn, you adapt, you pivot, as you've said. Given that you likely don't have a great deal or hardly any visibility into the eventual results and outcome, how does a company get committed and convinced to undertake an innovation program when there is no available ROI upfront, which is culturally, I guess, what every business, every insurance company, and every business, which generally drives the adoption of any new program, is a business value, an ROI or a business case. But you don't have those upfront. So how did you deal with that? How did your company deal with that? And how did you deal with that in getting approval, and the necessary budget and resources to go ahead with your pilot programs? And Shannon, I'll ask you first.
Well, I consider us pretty lucky here at American Modern and being part of the Munich Re family because there's a big focus on innovation. And right, innovation is kind of the unknown. And I can't tell you if this is going to bring a return of investment, but I really want to try and see, and let's start out small and do it and not make the mistake of operationalizing it so quickly and kind of learn. And then we can look at our findings and kind of hypothesize out if it would be successful. So I think part of what helped us to convince the powers that be to move forward on our IoT pilot was that LivingWise facility and the testing that we did there. And then, being involved with several different startup companies with sensors, they want you to try it out. So my home is littered with sensors, not your typical home at all, but to learn and be able to see that. So I take those findings, and then also when I get devices, we share them with other people in the company to get their experiences. So we've kind of had that basis to move forward. So along with the flooding event that we did at the LivingWise house and those learnings, and then what we've seen, and then just talking with other carriers, that's kind of what we use to move forward. And really our CEO has been wonderful because we are slow in the uptick for people signing up for this, but he views this as a success already because we've learned a lot. We've learned about how we need to communicate with our insureds. We're learning about do they want the devices, and then learning about different ways to reach out to them. So that really helps having someone like that in your corner for sure.
Thank you. So if I could summarize what you just said. Make no promises up front, maximize learning potential, and minimize risk in the program.
Yep.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks. Kevin, what about your experience in, selling the idea, getting the funding, getting the support? What levers do you pull?
Well, I'm really glad I kind of gave a little view of the past and how we get there. So I'll take it up to kind of the present, and then I can touch upon where we kind of move to in the future. I talked a little bit about our journey into continuous improvement, sort of the Lean Six Sigma principles of operational efficiencies and eliminating waste. We've had formal projects that run there, but we've also had something we call quick wins, just these very simple changes to a process or steps that we've been able to track. And literally within, I think it's 18 months, we've already realized almost $1 million in quick wins. So we've been able to save the organization that just by way of cleaning up a lot of our processes. So that gave way a little bit to making the investment of creating an entire innovation team. Another part of that team, as I said, was the product management level, and we have a number of product owners on the team that kind of has that foot between the enterprise and our IT department. We had individuals that were acting as in roles, we call them demand managers, and they were within the operational units throughout the company and stood as right at the gate to the IT department. Now, it was very valuable to those operational areas to have these individuals, but that was taking quite a bit of their time. With product management layer now in place, they still have a role to not necessarily be the person organizing a lot of that work and helping with that prioritization, but they can now look at customer problems and be more the innovators and help. And many of those individuals are leads in creating lead business cases to try to make changes that provide business or customer value. Now, looking to the future in terms of initiatives that we want to take, and I admire Shannon for how many different pilots that they've initiated. For us right now, it would be a matter of probably getting that approval through our executive team if something's going to have a real substantial impact on time, resources, and if it particularly involves a vendor, we want to make sure that our leadership team is 100% aligned on where we're going and if it meets our long-term strategic plan.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm excited to discover here in this conversation that, innovation around IoT and connectivity and customer experience is not just the purview of the top 10 insurance companies by size, but rather, is sort of finding its way throughout the entire industry. That's really encouraging. Shannon, this one's for you, and I'm mindful of the time. We will be wrapping up shortly, but try and get as many as we can. So it says, on the personal side, you mentioned that some have not installed. That would be sensors. Has your vendor partnered to help you with locating and knowing which insureds have not installed?
Yes, our vendors, I can't say enough good things about them. They've been wonderful partners. So that is part of it. Like, I meet with them biweekly now. For a while it was every week, but that's what we talk about. And they have a team of people that will reach out, and they have timelines when they call, and especially if there's issues with an install, they're kind of on it right away. When we started out the pilot internally, we kind of wanted to see that, and they reach out when they're seeing someone's having difficulty. So if that's part of the problem, so they've been really good about it. We don't want to bug the insureds too much, but we do want to get them to install it. But yeah, they've been great in the follow up.
Excellent, thank you. I think we've got time for at least two more here. There was commentary on customer experience. So can you provide more insight into how you incorporate the voice of the customer to identify which or what IoT devices would get the most acceptance, especially in the day and age of data privacy? So that opens a lot of discussion. Kevin, can I ask you to start? How do you incorporate your learnings from voice of customer?
Well, at this time, since customer experience and a focus and a resource, a program manager is in place, what we're trying to do is move away from all areas of our company were segmented in how they were surveying. There was no consistency across the board in method of surveying. We still did surveys via snail mail. We've done surveys via phone. We haven't done a lot of digital surveys. And being that they're kind of stashed within different operational areas of the organization, what we're doing is we're actually partnering with an outside vendor that's going to help us actually digitize a lot of our surveying and actually create a repository for all customer feedback in one place. And I'm very excited that we just signed that contract, and we're going to get moving on that. Admittedly, we haven't done a great job to date in terms of using that information, using that voice back in those surveys to really understand our customers. Up until this year, a lot of those are still used for incentive plans for a lot of our employees. Now that we've aligned the whole organization across profitability and Net Promoter Score, that need is now gone. Now surveys are there truly for us to get better. In light of IoT devices and data privacy, I think we're just nowhere close to really addressing that yet. I think our concern is that we want to make sure that we're allowing our customers to give us feedback by the method of their choice. And if it's via text or via an email type survey, we want to begin to understand that and begin to accumulate that feedback. I think those topics, Stephen, are probably a little ways off for us yet.
Thank you very much. Shannon, voice of customer, data privacy, care to address that one?
Yeah, it's pretty much everything Kevin said with his. We're kind of in the same place that they are. We too are looking at an outside vendor to do surveys, and then again with the IoT, we'll be doing surveys throughout this pilot to understand that voice of the customer. And security is always an issue, but we're still not there yet either, and a full vetted out plan with that. So the beginning stages are tough, but those are all things we're looking at.
Yeah. I have to add here that people don't often at the beginning of these projects recognize the hurdles involved in both data privacy issues and regulatory issues. They're not trivial. So I'm glad we asked and partially answered that question. More to come as we all learn. I'm going to try to pick up one more here. Pardon me. Here I got one. And I guess this one is really sort of what next in IoT, in connectivity, in sensors, in improving customer experience. Water comes up frequently. Shannon, you helped explain why water is such an area of opportunity. And, Kevin, I think you kind of expanded on that as well into other areas. But what do you each see as sort of the next frontier? I know you both got a lot of work to do in your current pilots, but sort of what's next in your view with regard to customer experience and connectivity?
Do you want to go?
Shannon, go ahead. Shannon, go ahead.
Well, the beauty of part of our pilot is the one sensor manufacturer. It's sensors that go around the home, but they're multifunction. So they can be set for water. They could be set for an open and close function on a door or window, or, a gun safe or a cabinet, or also to listen to an alarm, a smoke alarm. So during our pilot, we're asking that the insured set 2 of those for water and the third one for what other use case they want. So we're hoping to learn what that third one is set for, to kind of see where we want to go next. So it's kind of a nice little feature to have for us to do some learnings within that pilot to see where we'll go forward with it.
Thank you. Kevin, do you want to wrap it up with what's next?
Yeah, I think with the IoT connectivity, it kind of gets into your own organization and the type of losses that your customers are experiencing from a frequency and severity standpoint. If crime happens to be one, maybe the connectivity of cameras that are in places. That's not new technology, but they have that data, be able to come back and be able to monitor those things maybe from a mobile device. There's a company in our state that specializes in insuring churches, and one of their greatest exposures, it actually relates to water, but it's frozen pipes. You think of churches that are built and they're large buildings and are maybe not insulated properly. So for that organization and that insurance company, that was their focus. So it was also on water. If fire happens to be your largest severity, maybe look at something along those lines. Slip and fall, that's really big for us as frequency. So that usually involves water or ice. So it probably depends a little bit on where your customers and policyholders are seeing the most losses. I'm sure in your in our audience is claim departments. You have a lot of that data. And I think that's probably where you want to start to have value for yourselves. But as Shannon talked about, and myself included in the last hour, what are the other things that we can help our policyholders with that maybe aren't directly tied to insurance? And maybe it's other things from business management that helps them. And that's what we've been starting to learn from our pilot. It's wide open, but I think what's beneficial for our insurance carriers, where's your frequency and severity?
Thanks, Kevin. I want to thank both of you on behalf of the entire audience for all the great insight, and remind everybody that at the Connected Insurance USA Summit that you see up on the screen right now, that both of today's guests, Shannon and Kevin, will be participating, as well as I said, probably also 50 other industry expert speakers. Thank you all for your interest today, for logging in, for listening. A recording will be sent, and please don't forget to register while you can still save $500 on the pre-launch discount. We hope to see you all in November, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone.
Sure thing.